Yes, welcome and greetings, my brothers and sisters. It's been a couple of weeks since we've posted, but so busy with things, and I said I have got to post soon, and I was planning to do a special. I woke up to the sad news this morning of the passing of Bunny Striker Lee. As we all know that, for those of you out there with reggae buffs and reggae aficionados, you know that Bunny Lee was significant in the late 60s and throughout the whole 70s with some classic productions. I mean, it's as long as anybody's arm. I mean, for me to sit here and talk about and go through the recordings and the albums he put out and the stellar artists that he worked with and produced, I'll be here until the 12th of never. It will just be continuous, but we try our best to cover a few things today. We're not going to be here forever and ever. We're going to be here for about 15 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes, and just to give my stories and my anecdotes about the great Striker Lee. And before I forget to go on, please subscribe to our videos. You should have subscribed already. We've got 90, but we want to get to at least 100, and then after 100, then anything the roads are oyster, but we want to get as many subscribers as we possibly can get. And so please spread the word about our channel, like the pictures, like the videos, leave your comments down below our videos, like and share, but please subscribe. But Bunny Lee was born on the 23rd of August in 1941 in Kingston, Jamaica. And he said that his father was a shoemaker, and his father wanted him to get into the shoe making industry, into the shoe industry, but he loved music too much to leave music alone. And so he started becoming a record plugger for the likes of Drew Creed and for Coxsone Dodd. And then people like Joe Gibbs got him into the music industry, told him that he should try his hand at producing records. And people like Prince Buster was a major early influence in the long Striker Lee, and asked him to try his hand, at producing. And in 1966, going into 1967, he produced Lloyd and the Groovers, Do It To Me Baby with Derek Morgan in the intro. But he said he didn't have enough money to release the record because he was a fledgling producer at the time. So BJ Cownack, otherwise known as Cowtone Records, paid for him to get that production produced in 1966, 1967. That was at the start of Rocksteady, when Ska was just slowing into Rocksteady. And then after that, he got his first big hit of Roy Shirley, Music Field, Roy Shirley's Music Field was in 1967. Music Field, go on that music field, go on board now that music field. That's a classic song. Music Field is a classic song, and Striker Lee produced that one in 1967. And he produced the unique Slim Smith. I don't think there's many artists that Striker Lee hasn't actually worked with in Jamaica. There's only a handful. I would say the likes of Desmond Dekker never worked for him. Jimmy Cliff never worked for him, because Jimmy Cliff and Desmond Dekker were international artists, and Toots and the Maytals never worked with him because they're also international. But when Bob Marley and the Wailers were still in Jamaica before they became global themselves, Striker Lee produced them Mr. Chatterbox, which was a song which was lobbied at the legendary 90 Winston Holness. As you can hear, some of the intro of the song at the start, during the intro of the song at the start, where I think you can hear Striker talking to Bob about 90, Mr. Talkative. Do you see the 90s, Mr. Talkative? In a patois slang, in the patois style, and you could pick it up in the intro to the song, Mr. Chatterbox, where Bunny Lee talks about 90 to Bob, and Bob said, that man, Mr. Chatterbox. And it's no surprise that Bob Marley and the Wailers never really recorded for 90. And there you go, you see. So that song was really lobbied. As I turn up my fan, it's really hot in here, windows open, and so, and then Mr. Chatterbox, and then that was the only song I believe that the Wailers did for Striker Lee, I believe. But and then he went on to he said he was one of the first producers to produce reggae, the new sound of reggae, with a bangarang. Woman I wanna bangarang, Stranger Cole and Gladstone Anderson. Woman I wanna bangarang, woman I wanna bangarang. Excuse me. And there you go, and that was one of her first reggae songs, along with Nanny Goat at Studio One, Larry Marshall and Alvin Leslie, Cook's on those Studio, number 13 Brentford Road. But he said he was the first one to actually coin a word of reggae. He said, with Derek Morgan was in the studio, one of the other legends he produced. Him and Derek Morgan were in the studio with some musicians, and then he said that the word of reggae came up in the session. And so all of these things Bunny Lee only knows about, because he knows a lot of things, and he's one of the best talkers of reggae I've ever heard. And there you have it. I remember seeing Striker Lee some years ago. This was around 2013. Yeah, 2012, 2013, outside Body Music in Tottenham. I was walking towards somewhere. I think I was coming home from work, and then I looked behind me, and this big broad man was walking, with some people around him, and he was going into Body Music at the time. Body Music, Fitzroy was running Body Music at the time. For those of you who know, Fitzroy and Bunny Lee are very good friends. They go back as far back as the 60s, when Bunny Lee used to come over here, and Pama Records was one of Bunny Lee's outlets for issuing and publishing music over here in the UK, because a lot of Bunny Lee's 60s productions were actually published by Pama Records. And Fitzroy, who used to run Body Music, used to sing for Pama Records as well. So the two of them, had a great affiliation with each other and a great association with each other. And I remember seeing Bunny Lee with a couple of people around going into Body Music, and then him and Fitzroy were talking. But I was walking, and I said, "Is that Bunny Lee?" I said, but I was a bit starstruck, so I never went in there, because I used to go in there a lot to buy my records. I never went in there to see if it was Bunny, because I was and then that was about 2012, 2013, and I saw him again around the same time. I was on West Green Road, which is just around the corner from Body Music was. In actual fact, Body Music was on the corner of West Green Road, but they did eventually move inside a couple of doors down, and then once they were called Everybody's Music to appease people, then they changed their name from Everybody's Music back to Body Music again. And I remember seeing Bunny Lee there on West Green Road, and I was going somewhere, and then I said, "Hello, Mr. Lee," and he said, "Hi." He's such a warm man, such a warm and affectionate man, I remember that. And then even before that, in 2007, a very good friend of mine, he passed away sadly this year as well, Brother Douglas Williams from Find Your Voice. He used to have a program every Tuesday nights from 10 a.m. until say 3 or 4 in the morning on SLR radio here in London. And he gave me a call one evening and said, "Oh, Chrissy B, we've got Bunny Lee coming on later. Would you like to come in as well?" Because I'm well known as a musical scholar, as a musical historian, especially reggae music and jazz and so on, most musics, but especially reggae. That's my era, reggae. And so he wanted to interview me and Bunny Lee together. But I know what Bunny Lee's like, because Bunny Lee can talk for days. So I said to Brother Dougie, I said, "Look, man," I said, no, let Bunny Lee go it alone, because Bunny Lee is a walking encyclopedia. You don't really need me there with Bunny Lee. I want to listen. Don't worry, I'll be listening to the radio. I'll be listening to the show at home, how you and Bunny Lee interact. But you go ahead and you interview Bunny Lee. I'll listen at home to how to your show with Bunny Lee later on. I said, "Okay then, no problem," because I knew if I went in there, Bunny Lee could speak for days. You don't really need nobody else there with Bunny Lee. He's a soloist. He could talk for days, as I said. And so I remember I made a recording of the show. He was there for about 5 hours with Fat Man, the legendary Fat Man, and one or two other artists, one or two other people was in the studio with Bunny, because he's Bunny Lee's icon. So he attracts people, and that's exactly why I didn't want to go in there, because he doesn't need me there with him. And so I remember taping the show and listening back to it many, many times. And now, like how Bunny Lee's now passed away, I'm going to dip into my archives and try and find the tapes. I think they're down there somewhere, in the drawer down there. I'm gonna go and take them out maybe later on, or if not later, tomorrow, and listen back to that interview with Dougie. It's a good thing I wasn't on there, because I wouldn't have been able to tape it, and also I don't think it would have gone as smoothly. Mind you, he got a couple of interruptions because somebody had phoned up and tried to push Bunny Lee off course, but these things happen. Bunny is really forthright in what he says. You know, he doesn't take anything back, and he's been there from since the 50s. As I said, as a record plugger with Duke Reid in the I think in the late 50s and the 60s, and also Coxsone Dodd. He also worked with Prince Buster as well, and one or two other producers from that time, maybe less more obscure producers, but he would be a record plugger. Go around and plug records, go to dances and spy on your position for people like Prince Buster, who were sound system operators, Coxsone Dodd, who were sound system operators, and Duke Reid, who was a sound system operator as well. So Bunny Lee was also a spy man for the sound and also a record plugger, and he would also be a talent scout as well, because people would go to him even before he was producing and ask him if they knew of any up and coming singer who was very, very good, and he would pinpoint and recommend certain singers who he knew of, who could go and make the cut, make the grade to become a singer. And then he got into, as I said, he got into production with Lloyd and the Groovers, Do It To Me Baby. Then his first hit was Music Field of Roy Shirley. Then from then he didn't stop making hits. Bangarang, as I mentioned, one of the first reggae songs, and Cherry Old Baby, Eric Donaldson, the festival song winner of 1971, was produced by him, but it came out on Dynamic Records, but it was actually Buddy Lee who produced the song. And so many songs. They call him Striker because he has a tendency of producing hit songs. He's produced many hit songs, both over here on the national charts and the pop charts in the UK and America, and of course the local charts in Jamaica, both the JBC charts and the RJR charts. The JBC charts and the RJR charts in Jamaica, those are the two main local charts in Jamaica. And Bunny Lee has a lot of songs, a lot of productions were made it into the charts, into both charts, you see. And so we can't talk highly enough of this man. Just a list of some of the musicians and singers he's produced and worked with: Bob Marley and the Wailers, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, of course, the Wailers, John Holt, Darrell Wilson, Derek Morgan, Slim Smith, Ori Sandy, Winston Jarrett, Eric Donaldson, Hortense Ellis. Did I mention Slim Smith? Jimmy Riley, Lloyd Chalmers. Of course, Jimmy Riley, Lloyd Chalmers, Slim Smith were the uniques, and they worked with Bunny Lee in the 60s. Many hit songs like Watch This Sound and My Conversation, one of the very best songs to come out in Jamaica, My Conversation, that was produced by Bunny Lee. And there's so many others. I mean, he'll be all night, all day, all night. He had his label, Jackpot. Yeah, he also had another label. Actually, some of his songs came out on Third Road, which was run by Count Shelley, who I did a tribute to a few weeks ago, who passed away so sadly early this year. And Count Shelley produced a lot of Bunny Lee, or issued a lot of Bunny Lee productions on his label Third World over here in the UK. But his labels, Jackpot, also Attack Records, which was a subsidiary of Trojan Records, issued some of Bunny Lee's productions in the 70s as well. You also had the Aggravators, who was Bunny Lee's backing band in the 70s, and I must say, Bunny Lee was the man who came up with the flying cymbal sound. His productions were the first to actually were the first protagonists of the flying cymbal sound in Jamaica, like the hi-hat sound. It was the Aggravators. You had Earl Chinler Smith there. You had Carlton Santa Davis, who was also Carlton Santa Davis was a drummer. You had Sly Dunbar. He actually put Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare, Sly and Robbie, aka, together for the first time in the Aggravators. In 1975. 1976, at the height of the hi-hat sound, the flying, as he calls it, the flying cymbal sound, the mid-70s sound. They were copying from the disco sounds in America and some of those funk bands in America, as well as Al Green's band. So with Jamaicans, we were immensely inspired by the Americans. Whatever the Americans did, the Jamaicans followed. And so when disco came, to the world in 1973, 1974, that the Jamaicans jumped on it. But Bunny Lee and the Aggravators, which was his band in that time, were the first protagonists of it in Jamaica. And Bunny Lee said he liked what he heard in America from these disco and funk bands in the early to mid 70s. So he copied it and asked the musicians in the studio. At this time, the Aggravators were the musicians, who Bunny Lee conjured up He said, "You guys, look, I want this sound on our productions. Can you please replicate this?" And so they did it. And Johnny Clark was one of the biggest hit makers at that time during the Flying Cymbal sound in the mid-70s for Striker Lee, also Cornel Campbell, Oris Andy, and many others. We can't talk about them all. We'll be here for, as I said before, till the 12th of never. And so Bunny Lee's passed away, and we said that he's one of the greatest producers of all time. We've said it, and also the world has said it. All the writers and historians and scholars have said it. So sadly, he passed away. Apparently, I heard from the great Dennis Alcobom that he'd been enjoying some kidney problems over the last several years. He's been having an issue with his kidney, and for those of you who know, he's been walking with a stick for the last probably 7-8 years. He's been walking with a stick. Yeah, and he was a weighty man, had a lot of weight and carried a lot of weight, and he could, he was going through a lot, and I could see that he was very sick, because I remember one of the last interviews he did, he was hardly speaking, and Buddy's a man, he doesn't stop talking. And so when I saw the last interview of him, when he wasn't hardly talking, I knew something was up, and he looked really big and like he's very tired. And so unfortunately we've lost him at the age of 79. Yeah, I heard somewhere that he was in hospital somewhere in Jamaica there, and then he passed away. They don't really know what the real cause of death is, but more and more I'm hearing that it's kidney related, because he'd been sick with kidney issues for the last, as I said before, last several years. And I believe that's that, but it's not fully confirmed yet as to why the great Bunny Striker Lee passed away. But kidney issues is the most prominent story right now. But as time goes on, we'll hear more things, and we'll pull it out there on our social media handles. Don't forget to catch us on Chrissy B Emotep 444 on Instagram. That's Chrissy B Emotep 444, all one word, on Instagram. And on Facebook is Chrissy B Bailey. Chrissy B Bailey. You can't miss us on Facebook. We're on Twitter as Chrissy B, spelled CHRISSIE BI. That's us on Twitter, but we don't use Twitter. I'm also on Instagram or on Facebook or on here, as you know where we are, Crispy and Motep on YouTube. So thanks again, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe. I could talk some more, but I'm gonna do some works on the social media. And I'm going to do, as time goes on, I'll speak some more down the line about Striker. Maybe we come and do some more videos about some of his songs, and maybe the top 10 songs, or 10 of the most important songs of Striker's productions or whatnot, or widen it to 15 or so. But for now, that's it. I mean, I'm just so sometimes I don't know what to think, because this year has been a wretched year. It really has been a wretched year. So many deaths. I heard we lost Johnny Nash as well, and so I'll have to do one on Johnny Nash as well. Maybe I'll do one later on Johnny Nash, but it's so sad. And so, brothers and sisters, you take care of yourselves. Peace out, one love and guidance.